recording. There we go.
We have prepared some.
Yes, we have prepared a presentation.
Okay.
May I share the screen, Costanza?
Of course, yes, go ahead. So just before you dive in, just to say, we are a few minutes behind schedule. If we stick to the time, then we should finish close to when we said we would finish. So I think we just need to bear in mind about the time for presentations, which maybe took a little longer in the previous workshop than we had intended. But I know that Davis and Cinzia are always razor sharp and to the point. So I have high hope. No pressure.
Okay. With no pressure at all, we can start. Okay.
Presentazione, Davis.
Yes. Okay. So thank you for this opportunity to present briefly the toolkit, our approach, and then we will briefly go through the guidelines that we are preparing. So first of all, just as a brief introduction, also for those people that maybe are less familiar with this, but are participating in the meeting today, the IO3 Toolkit aims to support organizations with tools for understanding the impact of their programs designed to promote detainees and former detainees' employability and social reintegration. The toolkit will be available to prison administrations and third sector organizations for assessing the effectiveness of their day-to-day activities, training activities, for instance, education activities and training activities with convicts. And it also aims to promote an evaluation culture among partners and relevant stakeholders. This is another important point that we will go back to later. The main final expected outputs are measurement tools, implementation guidelines for these measurement tools, and the final transferability plan of these tools across other realities. Shortly, the IO3 model aims at allowing prison administrations and third sector organizations to measure the process and the impact of their actions, and it is based on tools piloted in different contexts following three main guiding principles. So it is a person-centered approach, strength-based perspective, and a generative approach also. So a generative welfare approach is also taken into account. What's the overall pathway? So as Costanza also showed before in the Gantt, there are three main phases. We are still in phase one, the analysis and tool design phase, in waiting for being able to test the kit with partners from September onwards. So that's the possible time frame so far within phase one. So what have we done so far together with all the partners that highly contributed to our work? So highlighting common trends and local specificities in different contexts from different partners. We have gathered criteria used in each setting, if any, for assessing the improvement of convicts in training and working areas by target group. We've compared common criteria with framework composed of previous research, other results from literature as well, to identify some criteria that may be usable and replicable also at the European level and in different contexts. We have so far drafted the kit that we had shared previously, so the tools, and we have now added the work in progress guidelines that we have shared yesterday with all the partners that we are going to present later on. So if you remember this, we presented this at the very first meeting we had in Turin. So what are the main input sources for our IO? So far, we have collected input from all the partners, from the available research and literature, and from also the lay practices in the project developing the Turin prison that also was referred to before. As regards in particular the input from partners, that is the focus of our first part of our presentation. So what has been the role? The role of the partners, it has been very important so far. Starting from the baseline survey, you may all remember the baseline survey collection of data starting from spring 2020. In that general framework, we wanted to collect information from all partners regarding how they assess the improvements or changes of convicts involved in training and work activities, if they use specific measurement tools or other criteria that they may be using for measuring changes and improvements, and how and when they use these tools or criteria. We then performed an analysis of the baseline information and data collected across different countries at 3 levels: country level, PRISM level, and target level. PRISM level is particularly relevant for Greece, for instance, where there are 3 institutions participating in the project. We then collected information useful for drafting a first version of the tools and guidelines, and we then collected further information by video conferencing with partners in July and October 2020. From these first sessions, what emerged were common aspects among all partners. For instance, an overall person-centered perspective, a person-centered approach that is common to all partners, but also some heterogeneity across the different contexts, and also within countries, for instance, within the different PRISM contexts in Greece, for instance, as regard differences regarding doing or not doing ongoing assessment on detainees involved in training or working activities, differences in having or not having tools or specific criteria adopted to evaluate or to assess the path of these detainees, different focus of evaluation. For instance, in some contexts, detainees are assessed. In some others, also the workforce is assessed. In some, workforce is not assessed, for instance. So we found heterogeneity across the different contexts. Then we moved on to draw a first draft of our IO3 tools that we circulated among the partners, and then we had email and video conferencing feedback from the partners that are summarized here, starting from November with Casa di Carità, and then in January with the partners from Cyprus, Greece, and the Netherlands. And basically, we collected their perspective on what they think about the draft that has been drawn so far, if they think it may be applicable, or if in their respective contexts, and what changes they think they would suggest. We have thus collected some valuable input from all partners, also from this last round of meetings with all of them. So some issues that were raised was first of all, one that also Claudia mentioned for IO2, that is in a different way, but also for IO3 partners mentioned the need for motivation of both the professionals involved in the prisons and the detainees to participate in the IO3 evaluation administration. And this is true both of those contexts where, for instance, self-administration of questionnaires for detainees is new, for instance, in Cyprus, and in the context where detainees are already used to filling in by themselves questionnaires. So in both types of contexts, it was recognized that there is a need to start with a motivation of both professionals and detainees to get involved, to feel involved in the evaluation that is going to be performed in accordance with the IO2 modules. Secondly, another issue that was raised by partners is the language issue, which is closely related to the basic skills that we mentioned before. Part of the detainees, for instance, are foreign-born people, with very variable percentages varying from 30 to more than 50% in the different prison contexts. So language is an issue. Also an issue of understanding. Many detainees are low-educated detainees or detainees with which may have some problems understanding the tools that will be administered to them. And also the timing of the questionnaire administration that may not perfectly overlap, for instance, with the timing of detention. That is, the early release, for instance, may kind of somehow impair the process of evaluation, but also primarily the process of the detainee attending the courses, for instance. That's another point that has been raised by the partners. Other questions or issues that were raised by partners were, and that we tried to answer or to start answering better with our guidelines that we will see later on, is who are the professionals involved? Should it be one or more professionals in each context, should they be the same pre and post? So who are the reference people in every context that are asked to fill in their those tools that they are required to fill in? Secondly, how to make sure that the professional knows well enough each detainee involved as regards those tools that the professional should fill in, considering the detainee, each single detainee that they are dealing with. Third, how can tools be an overarching tool, but also flexible enough that is capable of considering different contexts, and as up, so to say, as simple as possible and as short as possible. That were two requirements, so as to also to increase incentives to completion for both professionals and detainees involved in completion. And finally, would it be possible to have a final matching of the perspectives of detainees and professionals? And that has to do with the seeing both perspectives together, combined, the professionals and the detainees' perspective, which we are trying to make through the methodology structure that we have proposed. Some suggestions that also emerged from last consultations round with partners, that were shared, that we discussed with them, that what we shared with all three, with all contexts that we have, as we dealt with. First of all, there is a need of assisted completion. That is, filling in by detainees should be supported by at least one assistant to convey the main messages and for practical support, due to the presence of many low-educated detainees and no-native speakers, as we said before. So evaluation tools should be filled in by detainees, but through some assistance, some support is recognized as needed. Guidelines also for completion of all the questionnaires are needed. So it is important that evaluation tools are well understood by those, be they are professionals or detainees that are going to fill them in. Extra support may also be needed. This is so to say, a logistic and organizational issue that was also raised. So, for instance, both the Netherlands and Cyprus told us that they're planning to rely on trainees or interns or other people to collect documents, to enter data into online forms, etc. And also the fourth point is related to this. The online data collection, where possible, would be optimal. For instance, in the Greek context, it was underlined that having 3 prisons, it may help put together and combine all the data from these different contexts. Finally, other systemic issues were raised. The first was, and that we are certainly taking into account, the first is the need to share the draft version with all the professionals that will be actually involved in each country. And also to create, but that's exposed, an international community of practices over time, and also in the end of the process. Possible difficulties due to COVID-related restrictions were also raised as an important matter. Third, the need to consider the tools after the IO2 training path is defined, in terms of timing and places of the administration of the tools, the areas covered by the questionnaires, for instance, also depending on the type of skills that will be, that the tools, the modules will be more focused on, and also regarding the actual number and profile of the participants, that is both the detainees and the professionals that will be actually involved in the survey. Other issues and next steps that were highlighted during the meetings: the need to coordinate, also when we talked to Claudia and Giorgio, the need to coordinate and to find synergies with IO2 from our different perspectives, but with a common, of course, in a common framework, and finding synergies together, and also to operationally coordinate in terms of contents and timing. The need to share the pre-final IO3 tools and guidelines with the actual reference people and professionals in each prison context involved, so as to make it as cost effective as possible, so to say, to be efficient and effective. And so the next months, if we are to start in September, the next months will be crucial in terms of also of engaging all the professionals and reference people and institution and prison administration that will be engaged in all the path, both in IU2 and also IU3 as far as we are concerned. Third, we need to find effective ways related to this to engage all the relevant stakeholders, so prison administration institutions, but also professionals as well as the detainees to be involved. This has both a strategic, that is a cultural relevance, and of course a practical relevance, that is the opportunity of actually implementing the evaluation strategy that we have in mind. And this will, both these two levels, strategic and practical levels, will be at the center of the group work that we are going to carry out later on. So just to be aware of the timing, how much time, Costanza, sorry, do I have?
Considering you're 3 minutes out of your allocated time, so you're still okay, but then you have the next presentation, which is, you said you needed 10 minutes. So just to remind you.
Yes, yeah, thank you. So this was about the first part of the presentation. So it's kind of a summarized feedback regarding what we collected with the contribution of all partners that we once again thank for their contribution, their proposals and suggestions so far.
Davis, if I can say something, I think that yes, we need to thank all the partners that we contacted and were very informative for us, because they gave to us many feedback and positive suggestions that we are using for improving the tool. And so it was very important to have this one-to-one meeting with partners. We are aware that you have to decide many things in relation to the training, how it will develop, but now we have more infos that are useful for our intellectual output. So thank you very much.
Okay, so just as a reminder, you received some weeks ago the IU3 draft, and yesterday. So thank you for being kind of just a little amount of time before the meeting of today. But I assume you all saw the tools that we are developing. So, but just as a reminder, what are our targets? So our main targets are detainees and professionals, and also policymakers and other relevant stakeholders, but that will come at a later stage. So now we're focusing on detainees and professionals. These are the foreseen numbers so far of detainees in particular in the different contexts that are foreseen by the project. The tools that we proposed consist of, considering the detainees and the professionals, consist of 3 questionnaires, 2 focusing on detainees, on former detainees, participating in the training phase, in the testing phase of the modules, and 1 focusing on the professionals that are directly involved in the testing phase. These tools take a multidimensional view, both through a quantitative and a qualitative perspective. Our aim is to integrate these 2 perspectives to have a multidimensional and a multifaceted final evaluation. And these tools are supported by guidelines for helping partners in applying those tools. Just one thing before going into the guidelines, the work in progress guidelines that we are carrying out. We will set up an online platform to collect the data necessary for assessment, where data collection occurs on paper, so data should subsequently be entered into the online platform. So this is the general framework, the general practical methodology that we will follow to collect all the data that we will be talking about from now on. Another important point is that data and information of the detainees involved in the CAP path are collected anonymously, that is by assigning a code for pseudonymization, and will be processed in an aggregate way. And data and information on the professionals involved in the CAP path will be also processed in an aggregate way. So 2 methodological issues that it is worth highlighting in advance, we think. So coming to the next part of our presentation, the guidelines for implementation that we are preparing. So basically, so far we are developing it. We need to further develop it, of course, collecting other suggestions from all the partners, and also in the coordination process with Casa di Carità, with Claudia and Giorgio. But so far we have developed the current version of guidelines that is contained in the document that we shared yesterday with everyone, trying to take into account all the suggestions and remarks and comments that we have collected from partners so far, and also taking into account the needs of the tools, what we need to efficiently and effectively implement the tools in the different contexts. So very simply, with reference to the proposed model and the proposed tools, the following aspects need to be better defined. That is, what to evaluate, who fills in the questionnaire, how, when, and where. So as far as the first questionnaire is concerned, we do not have time to go through it. So I will take it for granted that, I mean, we have in mind what you're talking about, but this is the first questionnaire. That is the questionnaire that professionals will be asked to fill in with regard to detainees, okay, pre and post. So the focus of the first questionnaire is the detainees involved in the implementation of the testing of the AO2 modules, considering relevant dimensions belonging to 4 areas of observation: health and lifestyle, competencies and capabilities, relationships with others, and the inner strength. So these are the main areas that the questionnaire delves into. Who is filling in this first questionnaire? You can also see it by scrolling through the file, the PDF file that we sent you, that you sent you yesterday. This is a brief summary of that document, so you can follow this using the PDF document. Who is filling in this questionnaire? The idea is that the professionals, primarily prison professionals, workforce, that will be most directly involved in the implementation of the testing phase. For instance, educators and trainers, but also others professionals, maybe social workers, psychologists, that will be directly involved in this, and will be in direct contact with detainees being part of this process. Ideally, the same professionals should fill in the questionnaire both before and after, so as to guarantee individual consistency over time. Only one questionnaire per each detainee is required. Therefore, in case more professionals are involved, they may preferably fill in the questionnaire jointly, or at least sharing their perspectives. Any differences in the perspectives of different professionals will be taken into account through descriptive comments. So we do not want to rule out differences between different professionals. We want to have just an overall single framework for each detainee, taking into account possible different perspectives from different background professionals. How this questionnaire will be administered to the professionals involved. So the guideline here explains that it is to be completed online through a dedicated online platform that we are developing. Questions are both quantitative and qualitative, as we said. An individual ID code is attributed to each detainee by the reference people in the prison. And an important thing that also we highlight in these guidelines is that this ID code will need to be attached to the same detainee over time. And also the same ID code will need to be attached to this questionnaire, and also to the same detainee filling in their own questionnaire, okay? So to have consistency over time and through space, so to say. Also, as you may have seen in the PDF that we sent you, we are also elaborating on guidance to interpreting the meaning of questionnaire items that may turn out to be particularly hard to understand, or to make sure that common definitions are shared. For instance, definitions regarding inner strengths, or definitions of different soft skills. Okay, so definitions will be provided so as to make sure that we are all on the same page regarding the interpretation of each single item. This is the overall expected time for completion, is around 25 minutes. Okay, so this is how, this questionnaire is administered at 2 times. That is at the beginning of the testing period, that is before the start of the training period, if the detainee is already known by the professionals involved, or after the start, within a sufficient amount of time for the professionals to know the detainee's profile, the detainees that they are expressing an evaluation about, at the beginning phase. And secondly, the questionnaire will be administered at the end of the testing period, that is immediately after the end of the training. The overall time span will of course depend on the duration of the training in the testing phase. The questionnaire is filled in online, that we already said it, so there's no need to allocate a specific place or a specific room. It can be filled in by professionals just online, wherever it is more convenient for them to do so. Okay, so this is the scheme that we follow as guidelines for the completion of all the questionnaires. So I go briefly through the other two questionnaires. So the questionnaire number 2 is the questionnaire that we will require detainees to fill in about themselves. So with the focus on the detainees themselves. So this questionnaire, this evaluation, this assessment questionnaire, with focus on the detainees involved in the implementation of the testing phase of the modules, considering relevant dimensions belonging to 4 areas of observations, the same areas of observations that we saw before, but with differently formulated questions or items, as you may have seen. So more simply formulated questions to be more understandable, but still trying to remain within the same 4 areas. Who is going to complete this questionnaire? Individually, each detainee directly involved in the implementation of the testing phase will be completing this questionnaire. 1 questionnaire, of course, per each detainee is required. And the detainee's personal view can also be valued through comments. So quantitative scores can also be integrated by comments that the detainee may provide in descriptive terms. How? This questionnaire is self-administered to each detainee involved. It may be ideally, before we talked about the digital divide for detainees. So ideally, the questionnaire may be also administered online to detainees using the online platform that we are going to develop. But more realistically, it will be most of the time completed on paper. Therefore, there will be need to physically collect the questionnaires and subsequently enter the data and information into the online platform. And this will have to be done by professionals that can do so, or other people like trainees or other supporting people that will be involved. Once again, each detainee will be associated with their own ID code that will be kept the same over time and for first question and second questionnaire. As we said in advance, assistance should be provided in as possibly as an unbiased way to detainees during the filling in of the questionnaires by reference people from the CAP Partners organization, and where appropriate by other prisons professionals involved. Unbiased, we mean a neutral assistance, neutral explanations that are not aimed, of course, at biasing the answer of the detainees, but just to explain the meaning of the items of the questions that are posed by the questionnaire. The overall expected time is around 40 minutes. That is, suggested procedure is as follows: a preliminary introduction of 5 minutes, distribution of the form and attributions codes 5 minutes, and the supported filling in by the detainees 30 minutes. So this is ideally the overall duration of the procedure. The questionnaire for the detainees will be self-administered to detainees at 2 times, again, at the beginning of the testing phase, that is within the first week or so in the training pilot during the testing phase, and at the end of the testing phase, that is during the last days of testing or immediately after the end of the training. If a detainee is released before the end of the testing, so going back to one of the questions that we highlighted before, a final evaluation may be completed upon release, depending on the specific circumstances. This will be discussed with the reference partners from case to case. Okay. The overall time span, again, depends on the duration of the training in the testing phase. The questionnaire may also be administered at an intermediate step, is halfway, but only if it will be relevant, considering the overall timing and structure of the course. So for now, we stick to 2 times, beginning and end, pre-post administration. Where, if the questionnaire is filled in on paper, this can take place in any room where detainees can focus on the completion of the questionnaire, possibly without major distractions. So very simply, trivially, I would say, but this is an important requirement for the completion of the questionnaire. Finally, As for questionnaire number 3, this is the questionnaire that professionals will be required to fill in regarding themselves. So the focus of the third questionnaire is the professionals themselves, regarding such issues as the professional's ability to tackle social worker integration of detainees, the ability of professionals to engage detainees in the training work path, the ability of professionals to value the potential and capabilities of the detainees, and so on. Who's filling in this questionnaire? The professionals, primarily prison professionals, prison workforce that is most directly involved in the implementation of the testing phase. One questionnaire, in this case, one questionnaire for each professional is required. So in case more professionals are directly involved, each of them should fill in the questionnaire individually in order to collect the perspective from every one of them separately. And then we can collect an overall, we can also think of collecting their overall perspective, but the questionnaire per se is thought of as an individual perspective questionnaire. And each individual's, each professional's personal view can also be represented through descriptive comments to enrich the quantitative part of the questionnaire. How it is administered, the questionnaire is self-administered to the professionals involved. It is to be completed possibly online through the dedicated online platform again. The expected time for completion is around 20 minutes. It is also administered at 2 times. So at the beginning of the testing period, before or right after the start of the testing phase, and at the end of the testing period, or immediately after the end of the testing phase. And again, the overall time span depends, the duration, the length occurring between beginning and ending phase depends on the duration of the testing phase. And it is filled in online, as we said. So these are basically the basic instructions that we are providing, and that we have started providing with this very first framework of guidelines to accompany especially the reference people, reference professions that will have to take care of the implementation of the evaluation phase in the different contexts. So thank you very much for your attention. Of course, if there are comments, I can see some comments, some questions maybe are probably arising in the chat. So thank you very much for your attention, and after the comments and questions, now it's over to you in the work groups.
Thank you very much, David, for your very clear presentation. I'm sure there's a lot to discuss, and we had foreseen the working groups for that. The working groups will be in country teams, the smallest one being our Dutch colleagues, unfortunately, and the largest one being the Italian contingent. Of course, I would like to open the floor for any immediate reactions or questions. We are running a little late. We're running about 10 minutes late. So let's keep those to a bare minimum, just urgent burning issues, let's say, or questions. And if not, the group work, you should have received a grid from David. So David, I don't know if you want to just say a couple of words about the grid. It's quite simple. It's a nice simple exercise, and we will give you half an hour, so 10 minutes longer than last time for this. You'll be relieved to know. I don't know if you want to say a few words, unless there's any burning questions.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I don't see any hands raised. Excellent. So David, go into just a brief explanation of the.
Yeah. So I shared the screen, so
well
we can do it more quickly probably. So
yeah,
this is the file that we shared yesterday. So basically, the idea is to divide ourselves into groups based on the country belonging. So different 4 countries. The track of work is as follows. So the question is, please consider in perspective, trying to put it into perspective also, the internal and external challenges and the internal and external potential and the potentials and opportunities, both at the strategic or cultural level and at the very operative and professional level, with reference to the involved prison context in your country, with a view to establishing a robust evaluation culture, and efficiently and effectively carrying out evaluation focused on detainees and professionals participating in the testing phase training paths. So this is basically the basic task in a few words. This can be done by filling in this, if you can see it, this kind of grid, sort of a matrix. Okay, there's a four-dimensional matrix, so challenges and opportunities on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, and for each challenge, kind of challenge, and for each kind of opportunity or potential, we would like to delve into the strategic level and the very operative and practical level, with a view to what our goal is to establish a robust evaluation culture and efficiently and effectively carrying out evaluation, practically carrying out evaluation in the different contexts that will be involved in the project from September onwards. After discussing this, you can, I mean, I wrote this, you can send it to me, or we can just share it and discuss it together, and then you can send us the final document. We'll see how it is better to proceed. The important thing is now that probably we get down to our group work now, and if it's all clear.
Thank you very much. I just have a very practical suggestion for people. If when you're in your country groups, you'll be in your breakout rooms, I suggest for who is chosen as the spokesperson for the group or the rapporteur to share their screen and work on the matrix while they are sharing their screen. So it will almost be like a whiteboard that you're using, and people in your group will be able to see what you're writing. So you will be taking notes of the discussion as you go along, and everybody can see it. So I think that will make your life easier. Okay, so the spokesperson should share their screen and share the open document. So you need to have the grid on your computer open on your computer before you share the screen with your group. Then use that as a flip chart, you know, as we do in meetings basically, or a whiteboard, whatever you want to call it. Okay, just I will divide you up into your rooms now, and I will try to join the rooms. If there's any problems, just and you're sent back to plenary, I'll be there to catch you and send you back to your room if you have any connection problems. And you have half an hour. Goodbye. You should get an invitation to join the room. I can see people going. Yep. Eleni, non sei? Non hai ricevuto la cosa, David?
Sì, non l'ho ricevuta, non mi chiedevo ok, intanto magari entro in Italy, però mi chiedevo magari se era il caso che fosse...
Se vuoi ti posso mandare in giro. Vuoi
magari
sì,
ti richiedo, magari te lo chiedo via chat.
Vuoi iniziare coi greci? Non so.
Va bene, sì, magari sì,
Mando
così
dai
poi magari, se ci sono dei dubbi, giusto perché da sciogliere all'inizio, se ci sono dei dubbi sulle domande,
Tanto
poi
io ti mando dai greci, quando hai fatto tu fai leave the breakout room e ti rivedo qui e ti mando dai prossimi, ok?
Ottimo,
Eleni
mi
ha detto che aveva una urgent call, quindi in effetti adesso non, poi dopo quando ritorna la assigno. Allora ti mando dai greci.
Perfetto, grazie.
Hai ricevuto?
Yes.
Come si fa?
start the recording. There we go. If you can share your screen while you present, hopefully. Oh well, unless you've written in your language. I forgot to say that if you could write in English. I don't know if people did write in English or not, but if you're able to do that, then that would be great. Marius, you have a burning question?
No, it's not. It's a request, more a request. If we could go first, because I'm the spokesperson for our group, and I need, I may need to leave a bit early because I need to address a webinar in half an hour, and it's because it's going to be a formal seminar. I need to change and put a shirt on.
Marius is our guest star. He's always either going for an interview or whatever. So we're so lucky to have you, Marius. you bring a bit of glitz to us.
It's a webinar for which 700 people have registered. It's about parents with young children and how to engage them in activities during the lockdown.
Wow. Cinzia,
we should all come.
What can you say about it?
Okay, Marius, you go first then.
Yeah.
We won't eat into your time. So if you could share your screen and tell us.
Yeah, I will. Yes.
Let us into the wonderful world of Cyprus and monitoring and evaluation in Cyprus.
Yes, so this is our chart, let's say, the 2x2 chart. Well, the challenges that we saw was some issues that we have discussed with Davis and Cinzia a few days ago. It is indeed a challenge to keep the same people participating in the program throughout the program. That's why I insisted a bit on the duration of this, because sometimes you get unexpected events, such as people getting, for example, presidential pardon, and because they want to empty prisons due to COVID, and sometimes you lose people who were participating in the project. Another issue is maybe we can share with you a way with which to match people participating in these kinds of surveys pre and post, because if you don't match the questionnaires, then your data doesn't really tell you much. You have to treat the whole group as a group, and then you lose the changes between people, between individuals. So, and of course, you do that in a way which safeguards people's anonymity and personal data. Some operative challenges that we have discussed is that in our case, often prisoners, and this was the case in many other projects in the past, they need to be assisted when they fill in their questionnaires by a trusted person, either an instructor or a prison school staff. We found that if they are left on their own, they would not be completing the task for many reasons. Also, online questionnaires might not be feasible with prisoners at this point. What we did in the past, we used paper and pencil questionnaires. Basically, we had them in an online format, but we have printed them in this way, and then we transferred their answers and the data that we got to the online platform. Also, we need to, particularly when people from outside the prison, researchers or people working at the university who will be participating, we need to be very careful with the strict measures on due to the COVID issues. And as always, we need to be very patient and anticipating delays because of external factors that often are not within our control. Now, in terms of opportunities, this is an excellent opportunity to start creating a database that will run also beyond the life of this project, where we collect the information, data, maybe enriching it as we go along about prisoners' integration to society through ways that the COOP project has as priority, strengthening their employability profile, their skills, and so on. Also, another strategic opportunity relates to the fact that often when such programs are implemented in prison, there's quite a lot of motivation. Remember, I talked to you in the afternoon about the intrinsic, but also in external motivating factors that contribute to them participating. But in any case, this is always good for our projects. And some operative issues relating to that, both our colleagues from the prison that are with us today, Tassos, Iakovos, have done similar activities in the past. This is crucial because they will know how to go about the various steps to ensure that everything is done in a professional and reliable way, and we collect the data that we want in an efficient manner. That's it. And we've already sent this chart to Davis.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank you very much.
Thank you, Marius. That was very, very comprehensive. So shall we move on to the next group? Perhaps go with Greece. I don't know who the rapporteur for the Greek was.
I will be.
Irini, are you able to share your screen?
Yes, I'm ready to share it.
Perfect. Thank you, Irini. And while Irini does that, just to say that we will probably end 10-15 minutes late, so I'm very sorry about that, but I hope that most of you will be able to stay on for a little longer, and I'm very sorry about our colleagues in Greece and Cyprus. I know it's an hour later for you, so I will understand if you have to leave, but I hope you can stay. Go ahead, Irini.
Okay. Now I suppose you can see it, okay? So beginning with the challenges, we thought that the inmates needs to agree with the whole procedure because sometimes they become suspicious regarding this matter. Usually we don't have this culture of evaluation, so probably even the staff will be opposing on this procedure. Probably there's going to be a language and culture barrier that we need to confront. On the other hand, since both of the groups, staff and inmates, it's good to see this as an opportunity to get better. Probably we could include this description and the necessity in a description before, while delivering the questionnaire, in order to gain their collaboration and their commitment on it. Now, challenges regarding the operational status, the operational activity, the operational reality, is probably the 40 minutes is a bit long, so they will not be so easily committed on that for the whole time. Or probably they will start with a willingness to do it, and then probably they will fill the blanks without thought and without thinking of it. Now, probably they will have the anxiety that if a negative result appear through the evaluation, this will end in not good treatment towards them. Let's say, as you all know, in Greece, when people participate in courses, they will gain specific bonus on their penalties, on their penalty. So probably they will think that if the result of the evaluation shows that it isn't so committed to they didn't ameliorate themselves, then the bonus will be rejected. Sometimes the evaluation work as a motivation for the people that attend it, but there are specific reasons and specific people that they opposing on it, and it is a throwback. They don't want to. They probably they will deny participating in the training because of the evaluation. Now, regarding the graphiocratic, the bureaucratic procedure in Greeks, in the prison, whatever goes through in the prison needs to be evaluated, needs to be tested. So probably some questions of the questionnaire will be omitted. Probably, I'm not so sure, but during the pilot period, we can test and we can see. And there is no opportunity of filling the questionnaire online because the inmates don't have access to computers. So there isn't any opportunity to do so, to do through the computer. Now, regarding opportunities, hopefully there are a lot of this. The evaluation results can be used as a good database in order to modify policies and use them as the results can be used as an advocacy tools to readjust specific procedures and policies regarding training and so on. The combination of self-evaluation and external evaluation, let's say not external, but from the trainer, since the trainer evaluates and the person evaluates itself, that makes them equal. So they have a voice of themselves. And this is very good for them. And on the other hand, they will be evaluated and they will also evaluate themselves and the employer so they can look for another job better with better conditions. So the evaluation is something good to know how to do it.
Really, the connection is quite bad.
Opportunities regarding the operation, I continue.
Yes, it was you were breaking up really badly, then it's improved again. Try again, but I think you've almost got to the end anyway, but let's try and see if it works.
Okay. Opportunities in the operational environment.
No, Irini, it's not working. I don't know why your connection seems to be...
It is very good. It's very good. Probably Electra can...
Yes, maybe Electra, if you want to just wrap up, because Irini's connection is really bad now. Sorry, Irini.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so the last...
It's okay, yeah.
The last two items that I think Irini didn't read is that it would be good for the Greek prisons to have such an evaluation tool because it doesn't exist at the moment, that can be used also for other educational programs, and that the evaluation results, provided that they're good, of course, maybe an incentive for prisons to implement more educational programs and also use the ones that we are designing in this program.
Thank you. Thank you all. I think you've raised the issue of culture and the difficulties in operation before, so we know this is a very live issue for you. So thank you. I hope this discussion was helpful. You certainly gave us a view into the difficulties that you're facing, but also the opportunities and particularly where there might be a low or no starting point in evaluation in some cases. So thank you very much. Let's move on to our Dutch friends. And if you want to stop sharing your screen, Irini, then Theo perhaps can share his. Theo, you're muted.
Hello, everybody.
Yep, we can see it.
Are you feeling good?
Yes, I think everybody is quite tired. So
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Okay, Jos and me, we filled in the grid. When you look at the strategic level and the point of challenges, we think that a challenge could be that there will be more support from management to facilitate, to realize CUP project. Although there are 9 different target groups within the prison and VUCT, so not all departments can attend. Every detainee has its own detention plan and reintegration plan, composed by municipality, probation service, case manager from the prison, and a detainee. So it's, let's say, really a group work to define these plans, as well from the inside of the prison as the outside organizations. So in that, it will not only be a plan isolated only within the prison, but it's part of, let's say, the life course approach. The atmosphere in the prison and the living environment will increase in prison, we think, by this. On the operational level, for the challenges, we see that detainees need a guarantee that they can follow the training and that they don't have to attend other activities like work. So the training is really number one, and this has to be guaranteed. We also think that the motivation of staff and detainee to take part in the CUP training, and that's CUP, and that's the rugby program and the welding program, it's metalwork. Then the opportunities. Management is focused on reintegration and on working in a chain. So that's a good basis to continue this kind of work, and the evaluation culture is already there. Outside in, inside out, the network inside and outside is success of reintegration. We have talked about the life course approach, and that's something what we have on national, regional, and local level. So it's not really an opportunity, but it's already there. But okay, being in detention. Oh yeah, being in detention is part of the whole life. So it's not that when you go in detention that it's only that, but it's still part of your life. Further progress in evaluation. So there is an evaluation culture, but we think we can make new steps on that. Then the opportunities for on operational level. We think that we can learn from these 2 different approaches, so rugby and welding. And we hope that with that we can extend activities in prison, and an opportunity to actively commit the professionals in the execution of the activities That's what we also see on operational level. That's from us.
Thank you very much. Interesting to see that there is appetite for enhancing and improving an already existing system. So that's good. Yeah. We look to you as our trailblazers as well in the project, and pulling others along perhaps that are starting from a lower base. So thank you very much, Theo. So I think we can move to Italy now. I think Cinzia is the rapporteur, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
Theo.
Silvia is presenting. I'm just sharing the screen. Can you?
It's a partnership.
Yes, it's a partnership. Okay, here it is.
Okay, so just to start, we must say that unfortunately, since Simona and Claudia work in the Turin prisons are not here, we were able to focus more on the strategic dimension, and a little bit less on the operative one. So let's start with the strategic. Considering the challenges we saw as a challenge, that a challenge might be sharing the project with prison administration and among internal staff, and we also mean the security staff, because we think that sharing is important in order to guarantee the involvement of all professionals working inside the prison. And then another challenge is new insights regarding how to use digital devices in prisons, because also in Italy it's not very common and smooth to use digital devices. At the operative level, we see as a challenge that detainees have the possibility to use the technology in prison, as we said before. I mean, considering the opportunities, we see as opportunity the training staff as the opportunity indeed to increase their knowledge about the evaluation culture and how to use it. Moreover, there might be evidence-based practices that can be shared outside of the project. Then the development of common practices among organizations that can lead to new partnership, share language, common goals, share coordination. I mean, there might establish new way of collaborate, starting from this opportunity of working together on evaluation project. At the operative level, professionals can share common practices. Each person, staff, and detainees has the possibility to fill the force independently, so like they can express themselves without control. And these tools, these evaluation tools, can also give the voice to detainees and professionals, recognizing the results obtained during the pathways of the CAP project. I mean, we think that these tools can give detainees a way and professionals a way to reflect and to get results of what they did in terms of improvements, knowledge, awareness, and self-esteem and well-being. That was our work.
Excellent.
Of course, integrated and improved by the point of view of Simona and Claudia, of course.
Of course, of course. So Davis and Cinzia, you've heard all the feedback from the groups. Any closing words? There I can see some recurrent themes.
Yes. Yes,
So,
no, it was very interesting to hear from the other partners, and some of the issues were already discussed in our meeting, but it's important to have them in terms of challenges and opportunities. So I think that this group work was very useful for us in order also to understand how it's going on in each prison. So thank you very much for doing this group work, and we will. It's a treasure for us. It's a valued group work. So thank you very much.
Davis, okay?
Yes, just add my thanks to everyone,
Okay.
and just ask maybe if they also want to share their file also, so we can collect them and make the most of them also in the following process of improving guidelines for the tools. So that'll be very, very useful. And thanks again. Very, very nice to see that everyone pointed out also cultural issues as very important milestones, like a stepping stones to move forward. So it was very, very inspiring. Thank you very much to everyone.
So I would like to add my thanks for a very long but productive day. It's always a challenge to do these things online. It would have been much better to be in Athens for this occasion, together and eating good food, breathing in the sea air. But no, we're online and still we can see each other, and we've had a very rich exchange of knowledge and experiences. I'm sorry that perhaps time was short at times, but I think we packed in a lot. And thank you as well to the added participants who are perhaps new to the project, or maybe have worked behind the scenes and don't come to our regular monthly meetings. So I hope you managed to keep up. I hope you found it interesting. It was certainly very, very good to have your inputs. So that's it. I think we lost Marius, we lost Eleni, who were busily running off to other meetings. Bless them. Gosh, it's an hour ahead for you in Greece, and they're still going. So there you go. They should be our examples. But have a good rest of your evening to everyone else, and we shall meet. Some of us will be there at the multiplier event that Eleni told us about on the 12th of February. So I hope to see many of you there. And then, of course, for the next PMB meeting on the 10th of March. And I will be sending an agenda for that in the next few weeks. And the work continues. So thank you for continuing to inspire us and to motivate us. We heard a lot about motivation of the detainees, and motivation of the CUP practitioners is also important at these difficult times. And I think we've been doing great, continuing despite, against all odds. So well done. You should pat yourselves on the back, and let's go and take care of our families and all the other business that we need to manage. And I hope Marta gets better soon. Or in fact, I think she's gone. Bless her. I hope she recovers, and I hope everyone else. I hope your children recover, Silvia. And there we go. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice to meet you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. On the drop.
Bye, everyone.